Yes. Article 1. Name, formation, and affiliation. The name of this organization is the Clallam County Democratic Party, hereinafter called the CCD. The formation of the CCD is governed by RCW 29A.80 political parties. Yeah. Now, the CCD is chartered by the Washington State Democratic Party and is affiliated with the Democratic National Committee through its elected delegates. CCD chair and vice chair, the state committee woman, and the state committee man. Yes. Now, state law requires that there has to be a male and female. Poop. And these formation of parties, yep, they're governed by the RCW 29A.80. Yes. Now, I looked at that candidacy form of the PCO. Phew. Is there more than two parties in the state of Washington? I would say that your form, yes, is obstructionist to any other political party of this state that has the right to be a political party. Yes, because of state law. Now, when I go through the state laws of political parties, yes, I'd like to know in every state of the United States exactly how many political parties have been formed, yes, that have the requirements of their bylaws to have a formation, yes, to be able to campaign for their individual candidates, yes, because of the precinct officers that are, well, elected, appointed, or are standing in right now. Now, this idea that you're just going to cover up all your fraud, yes, so that you can get elected to office. Your bylaws are being violated, and quite possibly you could be asked to be removed from the state because of the violating of state law necessary to form a political party. Poop! Now, for both the Republican and the Democratic parties, I mentioned yesterday that there's a possibility, yes, that I had the legal right to sue you right now to have you removed from the elections of the United States. Now, you really need to think about this because I'm just guessing. I haven't read state law yet. Yes! But as soon as I find out that states require the enforcement of the bylaws as a condition of formation, yes, I'm going to sue you for violating your bylaws. And if that requires for you to be removed as a political party, I'm going to ask that you are removed. Now, that could affect presidential campaigns. And when you refuse to enforce my rights and the rights of my family, it looks like your fraud is definitely interfering with the performance of the governmental function known as elections. Yes. Now, you thought I was full of shit? Give me the state laws that allow for the formation of political parties, the requirements of bylaws, and this whole idea that, well, since you're a political party, we do not have to support the Constitution of the United States. Now, I did learn a lot from this. Yes. This is very good. There are 49 legislative districts and 39 counties in the state of Washington. Each of these is represented by a legislative district, a Democratic organization, and a county Democratic organization. Now, it gives the availability of finding the individual local organizations. Yes. And every one of them are governed by the formation of political parties. Yeah. Now, there are 7,500 precincts in the state of Washington, most of which have registered voters. Oh, some precincts don't have a residential addresses and are used by counties for purposes besides elections. Maybe we should look at exactly how they're being used. Now, roughly 7,500 precincts in Washington state. Yes. And typically the precinct ranges from 300 to 950 voters. 55 to 220 precincts in each legislative district. Yes. Between 49,000 and 86,000 voters in each legislative district. Legislative districts are determined by population. Now, when you think about it, these individual members, yes, And then the PCOs. You know, when you only have approximately 5 to 600 voters in a precinct, yes, there could be this little control grab, pooch, because if you only had 600 voters, and you needed approximately 25 to 30 individuals as members of the precinct, yes, PCOs and the members, to canvass those 600 voters, you can see that you could get precincts too small to be actually effective. Now, I think there might need to be some legislation on this. Let's say you had an obligation that there's at least 1,500 voters in a precinct, because it looks to me like the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, yes, have cut it up. They have cut up the state into smaller and smaller sections, yes, to have greater and greater control of the voting population. Now, when you think about it, because I understand this whole organizational structure, yeah, I have a bachelor's of science degree in organizational management. Good for you. The smaller the number of voters in a precinct, the greater amount of influence that you have as a two-party system. Yes, because the other individual political parties, yes, will find it more difficult to have influence on the voters. Yes, because of how small the precincts are. Now, I didn't see the actual requirements for how small or how big a precinct can be. So who was it that decided to cut the United States up?